So since I've been quite public about my previous mental health uh, history, I've had a lot of people coming forwards and sort of reaching out and asking, what is it that I did? How did I heal myself? So first of all, I'd like to say I'm always here to be reached out to. I welcome these messages. I'm happy to be able to support people, to be someone that they feel that they can speak to about these matters. I'm absolutely here for anyone and everyone in that regard. Now, obviously, I've been quite vocal about this online for a few years, so I always feel like I've touched on these things and mentioned these things, but maybe they've just got lost in all the feeds and everything. So the main way that I managed to get out of my mental health issues, if I'm completely honest now, obviously bearing in mind this is not like medical professional advice or help, this is just me sharing what happened in my life and as a result what came of that. So obviously, I was diagnosed with depression. I actually had Cotard's delusion, and again, if you've not seen what that is about, then essentially I believed that I was already dead. Every day I was just lost in this delusion that none of this was real, that I was not real, that this was all just a dream in my dying corpse. And the moment that I got to sort of break away and step outside of this delusion was, to be honest, from a very, very, very high dose of LSD, lysergic acid. It was not myself that gave myself this huge dose. Somebody else dosed me whilst they were already on LSD. And an LSD trip should last sort of 6 to 8 hours. Well, I was tripping it was pretty much like a 48 hours. For 48 hours, I did not sleep. I was just going through this very, very intense journey, this process. But in that, I kind of realized that it can be different, that I had a glimpse that things could be different. And for me, the real thing that uncovered itself, that managed to sort of help me realize that I can get out of this, or even, it wasn't even about getting out of it, it was just accepting it. It was the thought was, if this is all there is, then make the most of it, enjoy it. Like, okay, say this is a dream and you are dead and you are no longer actually in the reality that you believed you were. Whatever reality you're in, make the most of that. That's all you have left. Why ruin your last chance, for example? So through that, I had all these experiences that through the 48 hours of that LSD trip, I had all these experiences that shook me, that really, shook me awake and made me realize there's things that I don't know and I don't understand. And it took me a long time. Like I didn't have the language to explore what I had experienced. So I was Googling things and trying to figure things out. And eventually I stumbled across the chakras. Now the chakras are from the sort of yoga traditions, and the chakras are the energy centers of the body. And I'd had this huge experience of an energy center in my heart, in my chest. And so that allowed me to recognize that, okay, there seems to be something in this spirituality stuff. Now, before that, I had absolutely you could say there's absolutely no spiritual element to me whatsoever, but, obviously that's not true. We all do, but it was not something I was actively engaged with. But it made me realize that there is something here. And so that's what got me into meditation. Now, I started meditating and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any teachers. I was really self-taught. I stumbled through it and I managed to figure things out. And essentially, I had decided that my whole life was not serving me. My friends, my family, my environment, everything. The way that I did things, the way that I thought about things. When you get to that point where, you are suffering that mental health that is completely debilitating your life, that is preventing you from living your life, then you have to understand and accept that everything you're doing is wrong. If you are not happy, if you're miserable, if you're unable to function and do anything at all, then you're doing something wrong. And if you can accept that you're doing things wrong and you truly want to change, you truly want to, turn your life around, then you have to change everything. You have to change where you go, what you do, who you speak to. You have to strip it all back, and that's what I did. It was, again, this wasn't immediate. Like, this was a process of things. It was a lot of trial and error, a couple of years like trying to meditate, and then there was a big sort of cataclysmic moment that pushed me to say, right, that's enough. I am not going to suffer this anymore. I'm not going to live like this anymore. And so for 2 years, I did nothing but work to earn money, and then meditate and work on myself to start breaking free from the delusion, from these issues that I had. And, I basically decided, right, that's it. I will commit myself to this life for as long as it takes. Even if it takes the rest of my life, what I'm doing now is better than what I was doing before. How I'm doing now is better than I was doing before. And so for a really intense 2-year period, I didn't touch any drugs. There was no drinking. It was just working, supporting my life to support myself, and working to support my inner self, working to break free from these delusions, this way of thinking, this illness that I had. I don't know if I knew this at the time, but I certainly know this now. If you commit to doing the work, if you are disciplined and you carry on, you will completely change the way that your brain functions. I'm not too well read on all this stuff. I have an awareness of it. Neuroplasticity, neurogenesis, all this kind of stuff. You have the ability to change your brain. However your brain is right now, if you are mentally unwell, you can change your brain. It's possible. And there's plenty of science. It's one of those things that, look, I don't have all the receipts and everything. I don't talk about this often enough to have it just in my kind of psyche to just spit out like this. But I know it's out there, So that is how I managed to get free from my mental health issues. I worked really hard, and nobody else is going to do it for you. Like, you have to be the person to do it. I know how much we want someone else to help us and get us out of it and change our lives and all of that. But for me, that was the cataclysmic moment, realizing if I don't do this, it's never going to happen. And that's how I've ended up being this, yoga meditation teacher, because it's not because I enjoy yoga, it's because I needed it to change my life. I needed to know how to meditate. I needed to learn how to take care of myself, how to go inside of myself, how to listen to myself. And that is the key element, is recognizing through meditation, you can really get an awareness of this, is that you are not your thoughts. You are that which hears your thoughts. You are the part of you that is listening to your thoughts. So whatever you're thinking, I'm dead, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, yada, yada, yada. Those are just thoughts. They're not true. You can think many things. I always say, for example, I could tell you to think about punching me in the face right now, but if you're in front of me, you're not actually going to do that. Just because I'm making you think about it doesn't mean you're actually going to do it. And when you recognize there is a space between you and your thoughts, and you listen and you focus in on that space, that silent space, then your thoughts have less power over you. And so, if I was to go ahead now and dwell on the possibility of being dead, like that, the thoughts that were integral to my delusion, they're still in my head. Like, if I think about them, it's still a very tough thing to think about. It's deliberately sort of putting myself into a state of mind that is not healthy. It's not beneficial. So those thoughts are still there, but they have now no power over me. If I was to, even if one of those thoughts came into my head, I would just see it and just, I would let it pass by. I wouldn't dwell on it. I wouldn't get caught up with it. I wouldn't identify with that thought. And that is what I have learned through meditation, I now am aware of every single thought that comes into my mind. Every time there is a single thought in my brain, then I see it, I hear it. And if a thought comes in and it's useful, I'll pay attention to it. If a thought comes in and it's not beneficial to me, then I don't give it any more energy. I just let it pass by like a cloud in the sky. It will come, it will go. Like, you don't have to get caught up in that. But this is what I did. This is what worked for me. It was meditation. It was stripping my whole life back, becoming boring. From an outside perspective, my life was incredibly dull, but that's because I was working on something, and I was working on being able to meditate. I was working on being able to remove the power of my mental health issues. So I hope that answers your question. But again, if you come across this and you are in it, if you're struggling, I got free, and if I can do it, so can you. And it's tough, it's challenging. Like, I won't lie to you. I won't say it's, next day you turn the leaf, turn the corner, and it's all fresh daisies. And there's still going to be even days that, even when you do get better, there will still be days where you're not going to have the best mental health. But you will have the tools to deal with it. So, if you come across this and you hear it and you see it, and you have more questions or whatever, just, I'm here to be reached out to by anyone and everyone, whatever you're going through. I'm here to listen. That's it.